Hi, Dr. Mike Cubbin again. I'd like to speak with you a little more about the Speak English With Me program, but in particular, I would like to speak with you about our students, our English language learners. Now, I am not a classically trained ESL teacher, although I have taught ESL and EFL internationally, and I do not speak the language of our largest growing ELL population in the United States, which is Spanish. But I am probably one of the most fierce advocates for our ELLs that you will ever meet. And you might ask why. Because as a doctor of almost 30 years and a teacher of almost 15 years, I know what it takes to be successful. Right now, our ELLs are struggling. They're not just struggling, they're failing. As our English language learner population is increasing, their successes are decreasing. They need our help. We need solutions. We need to give our teachers solutions that are going to help our English language learners. Our current policies are not working. If they were, I wouldn't be standing here speaking with you. And this is unacceptable. We have English language learners who come here for a better life, walking out of our high schools, unable to speak English fluently. And that saddens me. We are failing these students. We are failing our most at-risk group of students. We must stop this right now. In order to stop it, we have to really put our finger on the pulse of what the problem is. Now, as a science teacher, I would look at this using the scientific method. What is the problem that we have? Our problem is that our students, our English language learners, are not gaining the skills they need to succeed in school. Why are they not gaining these skills? Why are they not gaining English as quickly and as fluently as they should? I believe it is because we are not making that connection with them. We are not engaging them on a high enough level in order for them to succeed. These students are English language learners. Let's look at the phrase. Let's look at the classification. English language learner. They are here. They are classified as students who are meant to be learning English. Even if they're in a bilingual program, they still need to be learning English, and they need to be graduating fluent, or else they're going to be unable to succeed in today's workforce. For some reason, we are not turning on that light. We're not flicking the switch on. The bulb is not going on with these students for them to realize that English is not optional. It is mandatory to be successful in the United States. I speak to a lot of teachers regarding ELLs, and granted, they are probably, as a group, one of the most difficult groups of students to teach, because not only are we teaching them content, but we are also trying to teach them in their new second language. But they show up every day. In fact, my ELL students, over the course of these years, have, on average, had better attendance rates than many of our native speaking students. They come because they want to learn. They show up every day because they want to learn. I don't care what they tell you. I don't care if they tell you they don't like school, they don't care about English, they have things to say about school or teachers or anything else. I don't care what they say. They're here. They are in your classroom. And for them to be in your classroom, they really want to learn. So what do? We need to be honest with these students. And we have to be honest by saying, look, you are fluent in your native language, and many of them may not be, but those are the exceptions. We'll deal with them exceptionally. The bulk of our students, our English language learners who come to our classes, are fluent in their native language. We must be 100% honest with them. If they are going to be successful, they need to become fluent enough so when they walk out the door, when they graduate high school, they will be able to apply for jobs and speak fluent English so that they can enjoy the successes that any other native speaker has. How do we do this? We need to open a dialogue. The Speak English With Me button will do that. Now the button is just a little button. It only has one sentence, but it says an awful lot. When you put that button on, it tells your students that you are putting yourself out there. You are putting yourself out on a limb for them. And when they put the button on, they are doing the same thing. But I'll tell you right now, it's funny. People say that old dogs can't learn new tricks. And it's true. Sometimes even our teachers are not as quick to learn as our students are. Because when I first put this button on, the first teacher that saw it, when I first made the button, first teacher that saw it said, "Did the principal see that?" And she was a little taken back by it. The first student that saw it said, "Can I have one of those?" The other teacher who saw it came back to me later in the day And she said, you know, I thought about the button, and the more I thought about it, I realized that you were opening a dialogue with the students, because she had actually seen many of the students wearing the paper buttons that I originally made up. The button is a game changer. The button is going to change the culture of how students think about speaking English in your school. You are going to be extending yourself. You are going to be putting yourself and the students on a level playing field. You are telling them that now we are on the same team. And you know what? They may not be the best player, but nobody is when they first join the team, and that's why you are there. You are the coach. And you are going to help that student speak English with you. And they will then be able to communicate back with you. Once they start speaking more English, you will be able to communicate in your native language, which is English, much higher level and more important ideas that you may not have been able to transmit to these students earlier on, because now you will have that engagement, you will have that connection with them. You'll be on a level playing field. You will be letting the students know that you got their back. You will not throw them under the bus. They're on your team. Okay, now the button is only one sentence, but it says so much more. It says that we are part of a group now, and we are going to be working together, because I want you to be successful. Now, you know what? I do care about teaching science, but I've always said that I want my students to be better students before they are better chemistry students. And with our English language learners, I want my students to be fluent in English before they can be a better student, before they can be a better chemistry student. Because these students, many of them who are going to be going to college, need to have these tools. And if they don't go to college, they're going to be going out to jobs where they're going to need to have this. When students come into my class, first day of class, I explain to them, boys and girls, I have a goal for this year. And my goal is to, at some point, have you live next door to me. And they say, what? I say, I want you to live next door to me. And they say, really? I say, I live in New York, on Long Island, in a beautiful, well-to-do area. And if you live next door to me, I know that you will then be successful. And they say, I don't know about living next door to you. Okay, how about down the block? I don't know about that either. How about you live in the same neighborhood? They're okay with living in the same neighborhood. And I tell them that I have a lot of people in my neighborhood whose native language is not English. I have a lot of Spanish-speaking neighbors who their first language is Spanish, but they are also fluent in not only Spanish, but they are fluent in English. And that is how they're able to be successful, by being fluent bilingually. I am not a politician. I am not a lawyer. My concern is not where my students came from, which many times I don't know where they came from or how they got here. That is not my concern. My concern is that they are in my class, they're a high school student, and I am going to give them what I would give any other student, plus a little more, because they need a little bit extra. Now, we have lots of books and manuals and programs for English language learners, but they're not working. If they worked, our students would not be in the situation they are now, which is failing. The button is a game changer, and I want you to make it a big deal for the students. It is a big deal because it is going to open up doors and portals that they never had opened before. Once they are fluent in English, they will be able to take off and fly. Now, I tell my students also that I've had a lot of crummy jobs in the past, had a lot of really bad jobs. When I got out of high school, I was a dishwasher. I was a dishwasher for 4 years. And during those 4 years, I realized that I can't do this for the rest of my life. But when I finished washing dishes, putting myself through college, and I graduated as a doctor, I was then able to treat people who I was washing dishes with. And it's important to let students know that even though they may not want to be a doctor, they may not want to be a teacher, it's important that we give them the skills, that we give them the tools that they are going to need to become successful here in the United States. So let's start on our journey. If you're watching this video, you're either thinking about getting the program for your school, or you've already gotten it. Either way, you're on the right path. So let's speak English with me, and let's speak English with our students. Thank you for listening.